What's going on, guys? How are you doing? Welcome back to another video. Here we are checking out a brand new versus video. I just made that top 10 weapon list, and a lot of the comments told me to check out a certain thing, and I'll be honest, I didn't really mess with it since Totally Rockin' Out came out. Again, Totally Rockin' Out, game-changing perk, probably one of the best in the game, probably the best in the game, even edging out Blast from the Past, especially in super late game stuff. Two weapons. As you can tell by the thumbnail, you probably already know what they are. We're talking about the Tiny Instrument of Death versus the Freedom's Herald. Both weapons, you can get them right now. I'm going to give you a hint that they both hit for over 1 million damage each. They both have 1 second, maybe 1.5 second reload speed on them. They are hand cannon rocket launchers, and they're my new favorite thing in the game. Let's get into this. So the build we're actually going to be using is, of course, Beetlejuice. Why would we use anything else? Doesn't really make much sense. Beetlejuice. Remember, Freedom's Herald, Tiny Instrument of Death. They are both single-shot weapons with a pretty long range. I guess you could say they both have interesting mechanics on them. One's a very slow projectile with a bounce to it. The other one, you can literally use it as a homing rocket and do a decent amount of damage. They both have their pros and cons, like everything in this game. But let's talk about the build and why we're using this. And this isn't the best build in the game. Oh my god, red arrows everywhere. It's not. It's just a build that you can use with this and hit for over 1 million damage regularly. It's not like I'm using a wafer every time and, you know, ridiculousness like where you have to min-max your whole kit. You're hitting for 850k to 1 million damage to up to 1.5 million damage every single shot, almost, or every other one. It's pretty ridiculous how well this gun works. We'll get into why in a second. But the build itself is make it count, of course, 225% extra crit damage, locked and reloaded for an extra 15% damage on every shot because you have to reload after every single one. This one, you could put Rex here if you want, but I chose 6-shooter. Pistol damage by 20% and impact by 25, which is kind of important. You'll see why in a few minutes. And hip shot for an extra, what is this, 17% extra damage. We're going to take Battle Beat and Sub Wafers like always when we take a Totally Rockin' Out build. If you guys don't know what Totally Rockin' Out does, I'm sure you do, but if you don't, crit rating by 160, decaying over 8 seconds, and heals for 73.75 health. That gives you a bunch of survivability. Well, not a bunch, a little bit of survivability and a ton of crit rating. And since we have Totally Rockin' Out, that finally allows us to roll our weapons a certain way. So if we take a look at the Freedom's Herald, we have it double crit damage, of course, why wouldn't we? Plus 75% reload speed. The element on it is, of course, energy, and slow ensnare with damage to slow ensnared targets. With this setup, this weapon does hit for a little bit less than the Tiny Instrument of Death. If we're looking, and we're going to, we're numbers to numbers, the Tiny Instrument, I'm just going to call it T.I.O.D. Does that work? The T.I.O.D. numbers to numbers is slightly better. Slightly. Not by a ton, but it is slightly better. It does have a longer reload speed plus a slower projectile travel time. So there are a few things that you have to take in consideration. But the damage on the Freedom's Herald, 54,000 with crit chance of 10 with no crit rolled on it, 545% crit damage, a range of 256. So I believe that's half a tile, I believe, a quarter of a tile, 3/4 of a tile, something around that. Durability is 300, reload time is 1 second. And the impact, again, important here at 7,545. If we take a look at the Tiny Instrument of Death, I have one in my backpack that is fully maxed out, rolled the exact same way, except this one has Affliction on it, but it doesn't matter for the actual damage numbers, just damage in the game. 73,000, so slightly higher here. Critical hit damage, same thing. Crit chance, same thing. Magazine of 8, but that's not true. It's still one shot. Range is 256, so exactly the same. And the reload time is 1.4 seconds. However, the reload time increased with the increase on projectile speed, or the decrease in projectile speed, is more than 1.4 seconds. you'll get a shot off maybe every 2 seconds, depending on how far the target is. If the target is dead set in front of you, you will get that 1.4 reload speed. But it's not bad at all. It does a ton of things. It does crazy AoE damage with Totally Rocking Out. Each individual enemy hit by the thing has a chance to crit. You're looking at like 50% crit chance with Totally Rocking Out activated for the first like 1 to 2 shots, maybe, depending on how far they are, because it decays. And lastly, the impact makes it actually worthwhile. Here, the Tiny Instrument of Death has 10,000 impact. So 3,000 more, give or take a few numbers, than the Freedom's Herald. But the Freedom's Herald is more of a spam weapon. You can use both of these at the same time. I wouldn't suggest it, honestly. I would use 2 separate weapons, something like the Hot Mix and one of these. But I've never played with them. This was actually on one of my top 5 pistol lists 6 months ago or so. And I haven't played with it since that video. To be fair, there's a ton of weapons in the game. I just forget about some of them, and I haven't played with it since that video. And in that video, I don't remember hitting for over 1 million regularly. I mean, I think I got close to like 400, 600K, but I don't think I was hitting for over 1 million regularly. And I was quite impressed with the damage and impact and the obliteration this weapon provides. Encampment missions, fantastic, insane. Actually, I was able to solo a 174 super encampment, probably one of the harder things in the game to do. And then on a level 190 mission, I held a tunnel without any traps, just myself. I was playing Beetlejuice. Anything came down near me, they were jumping off of a cliff. Anything that came down near me, just insta-killed them. Anything, it doesn't matter. And since it's an explosion radius, it's definitely it gets behind the shielders. Where you can aim it behind the shielders, especially the Tiny Instrument of Death. So which one is the better gun? Well, let's get there. Yeah, that's incredible. This is the hardest base content in the game that you can get, and we're still one-shotting mainly everything. Granted, you wouldn't use both of these weapons at the same time, right? You would use like this and maybe like a last word. I mean, we're hitting for 600K. We're getting Rock and Riff activated almost every shot, as long as there's a decent amount of enemies there, as you can see right there. And we're basically holding back the line. I honestly, with 7 to 11K impact, I feel like it's a better rocket launcher than being a rocket launcher. I mean, the only thing that comes close is the de-atomizer with shots per durability. And we just hit for 990,000 damage. And even at level 192, we're one-shotting stuff. And like, the game doesn't get harder than this. I used to always say, Carbide used to be one of my favorite characters in the game before the rework. He had the best AoE in the damage, the best AoE in the game back then. And I used to always say that in this game, AoE trumps single target damage. Very rarely do you have to single target take anything down. And even if you do, that thing isn't actually hurting your objective 95,000% of the time. It's just, you know, being multi-target, or I'm sorry, it's just being very tanky. So even if you do have a single target damage thing to worry about, a mini boss, a smasher at level 192, etc., you don't really have to worry about it, because you can simply kill all the little guys. So I used to always say that AoE damage straight up trumped single target. I mean, look at this. Can I hold down this entire side before they even get here? Pop. I will also say that I think the Freedom's Herald works better with Totally Rocking Out than this, because you can't really... The biscuit durability, or length, not durability, will basically run out by the time you get to shoot the next one. Yeah. Look at that damage. 532. Here we go. Ready? Here's the test. Right here. Bop. Ready? This one. Douche. I didn't crit, sadly. I'm about to die. Can I live? Oh my god, did you see that impact? What? I mean, the game literally does not get harder than this, so very, very happy with this. Fair, this is the first time I'm using this gun with Totally Rocking Out, and I gotta admit, the people in the comment section were definitely correct, man. This thing definitely does some work. A lot better than I thought it would. I knew they hit pretty hard. I feel like one of my top 5 videos, I mentioned the Freedom's Herald, and I don't remember hitting over 1 million. That didn't exist before. So which one's better? Like which one should you level up? Assuming you're kind of new to the game or something along those lines, and you don't really feel like wasting all of your perk up, and you can only do one, which one should you choose? Now, this is opinion based. Mathematically, it goes to the Tiny Instrument of Death. It does. It's got more damage, more impact. The argument against it would be the homing rocket aspect, which is a good thing and a bad thing simultaneously. The longer delay on the projectile speed and the slightly longer reload speed. Those are the negatives of the Tiny Instrument of Death. I feel like the damage is pretty decent for those slight decreases you may get. The pros of the weapon are good, and the cons are just slightly annoying. The Freedom's Herald, however, does less damage, has less impact, reloads faster, and the projectile speeds faster. However, that has a weird kind of projectile to it that can bounce, and you need to hit your shots and learn how to hit them. It definitely has a bit of a learning curve, both of these weapons do, but especially the Freedom's Herald, because you need to learn to aim your shots or shoot at the ground and learn how to bounce that projectile. Between the two, if I was to tell you to pick one, I definitely feel that the Freedom's Herald is better of the two, simply because the damage is minuscule. The damage difference is minuscule. You'll not notice it. Hitting for 1.5 million or hitting for 1.1 million, you're not going to notice the difference in most scenarios in this game. It has a faster reload speed, is a little easier to use in the game itself by spamming the shots. You're there to clear out multiple targets very, very fast, and I feel like the Freedom's Herald does do it slightly better. Either one of these is fantastic to use. If you're new to the game and don't have a rocket launcher, you can get these right now. And as you can see, they do a ton of damage. Even if you do not roll these with double crit damage, 1 crit chance and 1 crit damage, you'll still be hitting for 800, 600,000 damage. And that'll get you anywhere in the game perfectly fine. I think this is a fun comparison to do. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the stream or anything else I do, you can always use creator code TIKTAK, or you can come to the stream. We stream 5 days a week at twitch.tv/Roundedtiktak. We'd love to have you stop by. Let me know what you think about this video down in the comments below. I will see you on the next one. TikTak out.